The topic of this curriculum presentation is enhancing MAT B-class student skills and performance by using reflective practice. Overview of the problem of practice. English language learners comprise a large population in America, which makes it extremely important for the educationist to devise ways for instructing them effectively. The evidence demonstrates that there are achievement and access to gaps for English language learners in public K-12 schools, and the lack of training of pre-service ELL teachers is a serious problem, and it is becoming gradually important in America, as the number of students who are not able to communicate in English is growing at a very fast pace. Findings show that it is extremely difficult for teachers to teach students who do not understand English as a first language. In addition, it is arduous for the new teachers to communicate with students. Research shows that new teachers, a lot of experience, usually taking 2 to 3 years to start to implement practices that they were taught in their training, and usually default to teaching the way they were taught. The reasons of why and how the curriculum outcomes were chosen is because the curriculum outcomes may responsibly adapt to the English language learning needs by training the pre-service teachers to have a complete understanding of the occurrences in the classroom in order to be attentive and have autonomy to learn how to continually reflect, developing knowledge and the skills which are necessary for learning and teaching. The curriculum outcomes were chosen by identifying the problem, designing the curriculum module, creating an assessment component, and establishing a system of curriculum evaluation. The reasons of why and how these assessments were chosen is because these assessments may help these pre-service teachers identify which reflective practice will help them in successfully completing their learning and teaching, relate to progress in reflective practice that they are studying, understanding the use of reflective practice to solve teaching related problems, and clearly present the understandings of reflective practice in order to guarantee professional success in the future. There were formative and summative assessments such as quiz, presentation, and report to evaluate these pre-service teachers' learning outcomes. The curriculum outcomes align with the outcomes and assessments because at the end of the curriculum, these pre-service teachers may align with what they learned by first giving rationale for encouragement of reflection in teachers' education. Second, describing prominent features of reflective practice for teachers. Third, analyzing which are the preferred ways of learning methodology in given context and situation. Fourth, critically evaluating different reflective approaches. Fifth, identifying the impact of reflective practice on their improvement of curriculum and instruction. Finally, utilizing reflection to reflect what can be improved for their next tasks through reflection of reflection and metacognition. Research has shown that the success of students in college depends on the environment of the college, the cooperation of the teachers and the facilitators, as well as initiative of research. Findings show that reflection on performance is an important factor that contributes to pre-service teachers' improvement and enhancement. In this curriculum project, through reflection and metacognition, these students will be expected to demonstrate their strengths to reflect on their own progress by thinking about what right and wrong steps they have taken in their past experience. These pre-service teachers should be able to count with the knowledge received by contributions and ultimately manage the things in their own way. These modules focused on the MIT B class students who study at the Russell School of Education of the University of Southern California. In the modules, these students will be expected to show skills, to reflect upon their own progress and find ways to improve it by thinking about what right and wrong steps they have taken in the past. These pre-service teachers at university level are not only content with the ideas fed to them, rather, they like to make contributions and do the things in their own way. These skills, knowledge, and practice learned from the modules are critical for these pre-service teachers to improve their abilities in learning and teaching, enhancing outcomes and eventually achieving their goals. Through the completion of the modules, these MIT B class students will be able to use reflective practices for educational and learning purposes, and they may use immediate reflection in the future by metacognition. There are reasons for developing the activities. First, to understand the application and history, there is an activity of using internet to search about reflective practices in teaching. Second, to find how the reflective practice developed and improved, the activity will investigate what are individual and group reflective practice. To ensure that the pre-service teachers may list the most commonly used features of reflective practice, there is an activity to list different reflective practice. To take cultural differences into account, there is an activity to investigate cultural and societal differences. To explore the most common reflective practice used, the activity will ask pre-service teachers to observe the surrounding. Finally, to compare the different reflective practices. These pre-service teachers will explore different reflective practices through metacognition. In the work example, first, these MIT B class students will be offered a work sample showing how to compare different reflective practices. Then a sample chart of comparison on the reflective techniques will also be given to show how the student can reflect upon previous learning to make better decisions. Next, the chart-based comparison will show the strengths and weaknesses of one model for reflection compared to the other, as it is easy to understand and comprehend differences in reflection practice. In Unit 3 and 4, these students were provided sample case studies showing how a student used reflective practice in different situations. This activity is useful for helping students realize that some teachers will use different reflection methods when they have time. This will allow the students to appreciate the efforts to identify a suitable situation according to reflective practice. Thus, these students will adopt the same methodology. The connection with the course was tried to maintain the link of the content to the bilingual and cross-cultural setting of the class. The connection with the course content includes following aspects. First, self-regulation. Self-regulation of the student will be ensured by asking the student to provide the activity reports on a regular basis. Regular assessment of these activities will keep the student self-regulated. Second, language. A course of bilingual background is in perspective, so the students were guided to choose those areas and examples that can be easily narrated in both language, both orally as well as in written. Third, culture. Culture affects the understanding of the student, particularly if the student is shy and does not feel comfortable with the other students from different backgrounds. The subjective suggestions will help the student in understanding their perspective of different ideas discussed in the classroom. Finally, social influence on learning. The social influence on learning can be improved by ensuring that the college administration helps the students and supports them in their activities by providing them with reasonable resources and positive environment.